What came next was Honeycomb SDK, the first tablet only and Android update. It was released on February 22nd, 2011. The first device featuring this version was the Motorola Zoom tablet, which was released on February 24th, 2011. Now, what came with this tablet operating system? It had optimized tablet support with a new holographic user interface. It had added system bar featuring quick access to notifications, status, and soft navigation buttons available at the bottom of the screen. It also had added action bar giving access to contextual options, navigation, widgets, or other types of content at the top of the screen. They had simplified the multitasking process. Tapping recent applications in the system bar allowed users to see snapshots of tasks underway and quickly jump from one application to another. They redesigned the keyboard. They simplified the copy paste interface. They added multiple browser tabs, replacing the browser windows. Some of the other cool features were hardware acceleration, support for multi-core processes, and ability to encrypt all user data. So that was some of the cool features that were added in Honeycomb or 3.0. The next version that came out, Ice Cream Sandwich, which was 4.0 version, which was released publicly on October 19th, 2011. Google's Gabe Cohen stated that Android 4.0 was theoretically compatible with any Android 2.3.x device in production at that time. The source code for Android 4.0 became available on November 14th of 2011. Ice Cream Sandwich was the last version to officially support Adobe System Flash Player. The update introduced numerous new features, including the soft buttons for Android 3.x and for to use on phones. They had separations of widgets in a new tab listed in a similar manner of to applications. That it was easier to create folders with a drag and drop style. They had pinch to zoom functionality in the calendar. They had improved copy paste functionalities. Some of these features were actually taken from 3.x, which was only for tablets, and were also implemented in Ice Cream Sandwich. They refreshed the People application with social network integration, status updates, and high-res images. They added the built-in photo editor. Other than that, they added 1080p video recording for stock Android devices. Wi-Fi Direct was added to this particular version. And last but not the least, one of the things that I would like to say is Android VPN framework and anti-UN but not tap kernel module was added to it. Prior to 4.0 version, VPN software required rooted Android, so that was pretty awesome in version 4.0. The next version was 4.1, also called as Jelly Bean, and Google announced this on June 27th, 2012. Jelly Bean was an increment update with the primary aim of improving the functionality and performance of the user interface. It had a very smoother user interface. It had enhanced accessibility. It had expandable notifications. Bluetooth data transfer for Android Beam was added to it. There was multi-channel audio, improved camera application, ability for other launchers to add widgets from application drawer without requiring root access was added to it. The next version was also called Jelly Bean 4.2. Google was expected to announce it at an event in New York City on October 29, 2012, but the event was cancelled due to Hurricane Sandy. Instead of rescheduling the live event, Google announced the new version with a press release under a slogan saying "a new flavor of Jelly Bean." Now, what did this have? It had lock screen improvements, including widget support and the ability to swipe directly to camera. It had notification power controls, daydream screensaver showing information when idle or docked. It had multiple user accounts added to it. That one of the cool features that I liked was group messaging, which was added to this particular version 4.2. So next was 4.3 Jelly Bean again, and Google kind of came out with a slogan saying an even sweeter jelly bean. And most Nexus devices received this update within a week, although the second generation Nexus 7 tablet was the first device to officially ship with it. And the cool features were some of the nice features were Bluetooth low energy support. They had OpenGL 3.0 support, allowing for improved game graphics. They also restricted access. They had a restricted access mode for the new user profiles. Volume for incoming calls, ringtones, and notifications are no longer adjusted separately. They were all added together, and they had improvements to the photosphere application. They reworked the camera UI previously introduced on Google Play Edition phones. They also added support for 4K resolution, and developer logging and analyzing enhancement were added to it, so developers get a better idea of what's going on inside a particular device. Added support for 5 more languages, and added the clock in status bar, which disappears if clock is selected as lock screen widget. The next version, which was one of my favorite, was Android KitKat or Android 4.4, which was released on September 3rd, 2013. Although initially under the Key Lime Pie codename, the name was changed because very few people actually know the taste of a key lime pie. Some technology bloggers also expected the key lime pie release to be Android 5, but KitKat debuted on Google's Nexus 5 on October 31st, 2013, and was optimized to run on a greater range of devices than earlier Android versions, having around 512 MB of RAM as recommended minimum. Those improvements were known as Project Svelte, and internally at Google, the required minimum amount of RAM available to Android is around 340 MB, and all devices with less than 512 MB of RAM must report themselves as low RAM devices. So what was so awesome about 4.4? It had a refreshed interface with white elements instead of blue. The clock no longer shows bold hours. All digits are like 10 hour minutes and seconds, and some of the NFC host card emulation, enabling a device to replace smart cards. They had web views now based on Chromium engine. They had sensor batching, step detector, and counter APIs. They also had native infrared blaster API. They added expandable accessibility APIs and system level closed captioning settings. They had Android Runtime introduced as a new experimental application runtime environment not enabled by default as a replacement for Dalvik virtual machines, which we'll probably learn more about in the Android architecture class. They also added Bluetooth message access profile or MAP support. They disabled access to battery statistics by third-party applications, and also disabled text wrapping in WebView browser component, which was a little bit annoying, but it was cool to have that. The next version was 5.0 Lollipop, which was unveiled under codename Android L on June 25th, 2014 during Google I/O. It became available as official over-the-air OTA updates on November 12, 2014 for select devices that run distribution of Android serviced by Google, including Nexus and Google Play Edition devices. Google made internal changes to the platform with the Android Runtime ART, which I mentioned was initially announced with KitKat, and officially replacing Dalvik for the improvement application performance, and with changes intended to improve and optimize battery usage, known internally as Project Volta. So some of the good features about 5.0 were the Android runtime, which I just mentioned. They had support for 64-bit CPUs. It had OpenGL 3.1 added to it. There was vector drawables, which scale without losing definitions. They had material design brought into it, which we'll talk about later in one of the videos. It had smart lock feature. They had updated some emoji libraries and improved accessibility support. One of them was switch access support, and block-based over-the-air updates for new devices was added to it. It also had audio input and output through USB devices. There were guest logins, and multiple user accounts are available on more devices such as phones. It also had lock screen which provided shortcuts to application and notification settings. So these were some of the features that were added to 5.0. Now let's talk about the most recent version at the time of this recording, which was Android 6.0, or also called as Marshmallow. Was released under the codename Android M during Google I/O on May 28, 2015 for Nexus 5 and 6 phones. Nexus 9 tablet, and Nexus Player set-top box under the build under a particular build number. The third developer preview was released on August 17th, 2015 for some more devices, and was and this kind of fixed bunch of different bugs that were there on the previous version. So what is so new about Marshmallow? So they, one of the thing is they added the tap feature where you can tap anywhere on the screen anytime and get through anywhere. They had the doze mode. They had, you could they had alphabetically accessible vertical application drawer. It had native fingerprint reader support, application search bar and favorites, do not disturb mode, post install runtime permission request, USB Type C support, demo mode features for screenshot capture usage. They had automatic full data backup and restore for apps. They had 4K display mode for applications, and adaptable external storage to behave like internal storage. It also supported MIDI for musical instruments, and experimental multi-window feature were added to 6.0.